This is the part two and correction of errata of the what the fuck is a riker video. Uh, so, like, what happened is I got really gacked on energy drinks last night. Stayed up all night and felt a burning urge, to express my views on, science fiction. It's too late. It's too late to have done the video I would have wanted, but I don't I'm not gonna sit and write a script. But nonetheless, I'll try to. There's basically about three things, two or three things, depending on how you think of it, that I want to discuss. That I don't think I got to. At some points you may have noticed, and this is just me, man. I'm ADHD all my life. I just sort of fly on to some other subject and forget what I was talking about to begin with, or even that I was talking about something different to begin with. That's me, that's my life, and that's who I am. But yeah, I'd like to discuss further, the attempts to develop the character of Riker. And the two that come immediately to my mind, if there's any others, there's something that I can unabashedly and without reserve ask for comments in the comment box. But the two that come to my mind, and tell me if there's others, are Riker's with Troy, Riker's not with Troy, and what was the other one? Well, the one during the best episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever, of any kind, in my opinion. That cliffhanger with Picard. If they'd done that right, either the series would end, or you would have seen one of the most amazing comebacks of all time, and one of the most amazing pieces of science fiction of all time, if the follow-up the next season had been what it would have needed to have been to not be bullshit. But what the follow-up actually was bullshit. Okay. And that's what I was trying to say last video, but I didn't say it right because I was tired as all get out. I think I've gotten some sleep now. It's hard to say if it was. It was really light sleep. I imagine I must have gotten a little bit of light sleep. It felt like more like being scared to go to sleep than it felt like being asleep. But the level of disorganization in my thoughts suggested I was in at least a very light sleep. So, and nonetheless, I feel refreshed, but there's a small possibility that it's just a second wind. But yeah, so the other character development is we learn the amazing fact about Riker that he, bro, that Riker, bro, I mean, he's just not a leadership type, Riker just, he loves serving Captain Picard so much. He's not one of these ambitious people. I mean, the woodenness of Riker's character. You know what, though? Never mind. I can't go there, because, like, for the longest time, I don't even know if people know this. For the longest time, the way people characterized what's wrong with William Shatner's acting was that it was wooden. But, I never felt that was quite the right description of what's wrong with the way he acts. It's like wooden and then over intense at the very least. That's and over intense is not wooden, or maybe it is, and I don't know it, or maybe the whole culture doesn't even know it anymore. But at any rate, I never could understand why it was described as wooden when it at least had this other characteristic of being over intense. And that may have just been that I didn't understand that wooden includes over intense or whatever. But, I mean, let's say, just for the sake of argument, that William Shatner's acting is wooden. Riker, you know, Riker brings that to a whole new level, man. you know, but, at any rate, all I can say for sure is it didn't work for me. I didn't feel that I was what I was. I know what I was supposed to think. I was supposed to think we're exploring a brand new aspect of Riker's personality that you haven't seen before. All I can say is it didn't land for me. Riker's with Troy. Does that actually make any sense? Actually, yeah, it kind of does. I could see that character, Troy, being attracted to Riker. I don't remember what the episode where they stopped being an item. I don't even know if there was an episode. I didn't see like every single episode of the final 3 or maybe even 4 seasons, uh, but maybe as little as 2. Like all of a sudden there were these things called Kardashians that I never even figured out what was the deal with Kardashians. I'm starting to sound like I'm not a science fiction fan. No, I'm not a fan of science fiction in motion pictures. There's probably some truth to that. I love it, but I'm not the intended audience. You know, I even love Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know, but except for every time Riker's on the screen, which is quite a lot of time, by the way, because he's second in command of the Enterprise. But at any rate, you know, I'm not saying that it's an objective fact that it didn't work for me, that was an aspect of Riker's character that he was avoiding uh, gaining more power because he just loves serving Picard so gosh darn much, and he's just not an ambitious guy. I mean, maybe that worked. Did they follow that up? Did they ever follow that up? I don't remember seeing them ever follow that up. You know, uh, and I gotta say the breaking up of no, actually, I guess that kind of makes sense too, because like for them not to break up would involve Riker having some character, like some pushback, which he can't. And I get that aspect of Riker's character. He does have, I guess, that little bit of character, which is like he's a rule follower. He's really into the rules. He's the anti Captain Kirk in that sense. Like, Picard's pretty conservative on the Prime Directive, but I think Riker is like even much more. I don't know, but even that, I think I honestly think I'm granting the character too much existence, too much development, and I'm sure most people will disagree with me, but I liked the first term better, existence. There doesn't exist a fully developed character called a Riker. There only exists I guess that makes a little bit of sense. A little bit. Does that kind of make sense? A little bit. There only exists that. That's all there is. Um, but yeah, I guess I suppose both the start up and the end. I mean, like if you're in love with a cardboard box and the cardboard box doesn't reciprocate in any real way, whatsoever, you know, because it's a cardboard box, you know, then yeah, you're going to break up with the cardboard box with which you have become infatuated. And the cardboard box is not going to resist, you know, because it's a cardboard box. And so, yeah. Was there some other? No, those are the ones that, like I say, that's the one thing where I won't feel like a jerk by asking you to leave a comment in the commentaries. I'd honestly like to know if you can think of any other attempts they made to develop the character Riker. And then now for errata. Yeah, I was totally wrong that Deanna Troi was the character that underwent the most development. Yeah, my apologies. I was so damn tired, just wasn't thinking. The two major candidates who I think would say succeeded in having more character development were the obvious ones to me are Data and the Klingon, whose name Worf. Data and Worf, and no, I don't think Geordi developed any. In case you're wondering, but Geordi was awesome. Geordi was like the best character on that show, man. Data was the most interesting, but Geordi was the best. Geordi was the shit, and you knew it from episode 1. No shit. If you're of my generation, you knew episode 1, Geordi was the shit, and that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. But no, I don't think his character developed all that much. He was always just Geordi. Even Data, within the first 2 seasons at least, were established friends, good buddies. But yeah, Data and Worf. Now, with Data, like I'm not going to qualify these. This is more like I'm going more into analytical mode. Like I think with Data, that the key question that the writer's room had to be asking was, what's the most realistic way we can have this character develop without going into bullshit territory? I think they came up with a damn good answer. It's just that it's so artificial that it had to be that way, because Data is kind of like Spock, but he's not Spock because he's an artificial intelligence, and it's just artificial. And that's why, yeah, I am one of those people who thinks Star Trek, the original series, is at least in some ways better than the Next Generation. Like the character development in the Next Generation, or in the original series, was based on the chemistry of the actors, the actual chemistry of the actual actors. But I guess we were just so much more professional in the 80s. We didn't want to risk things like that. That's unprofessional behavior in an acting situation, sir. Well, I tell you what, if just in terms of characters, I'm not saying the overall every other aspect of the show, but just in terms of characters, bro, if the original series was unprofessional, bro, give me professional all day, all week, all month, all year. Or if you're a Battlestar Galactica fan, give me unprofessional all Daytron, all Weektron, all Month-tron, and all Yeartron. Oh, yeah, I kill me. All right, I'm sorry. You're not supposed to never, ever, ever laugh at your own jokes. All right. Yeah. So that was the deal with Data. Like Worf, I I think the character development we all should think the most positively about in Star Trek, The Next Generation, is Worf. I really think we should, and just unambiguously. Unambiguously. Um, because they didn't need to develop Worf. Worf is the closest thing to the magic of the original Star Trek that's in The Next Generation. Like, yeah. I guess they kind of did, because he's a Klingon. There hadn't been Klingons that were on our side in the original. If I had any complaints, I mean, they come down to, am I willing to give a chance that Klingons are the good guys? And believe it or not, back in those days, like that really was a serious question. Let's put it this way: that was the closest thing to a miracle that they pulled it off in Star Trek: The Next Generation. They really did a pretty damn. I think they cheated a few times. I don't even remember, and I don't want to look at it. It's none of my business. Or something, some kind of something. I think they cheated a little on a few episodes, but really, the development of Worf was the most admirable job The Next Generation did. That was the closest to real Star Trek: The Next Generation got. Yeah, that's my opinion. It was good. It was good. You just didn't see it. You kind of didn't see it coming. Worf was as interesting as Data, and Data was very interesting. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, but clearly not Troy. Troy is not the character that with the most development in the show. I think that I think that the development of Worf, in terms of character development, Worf is what we should admire the writers most for. Thank you. Have a nice day.